Chapter 457, Information provided by the Evil Spirit. Sequence 0, Red Priest. Which pathway sequence 0 is this? I've learned the true name of another sequence 0. Of course, the pretext is that the evil spirit isn't lying. It's said that the holder of the Red Priest card would seek out the underground ruins of the Tudor family due to some form of attraction, but they ended up dying in that room. This should be the law of convergence of Beyonder characteristics within the same pathway, right? No, Emperor Roselle had apparently mentioned that after advancing to become a high-sequence Beyonder, possessing a corresponding card of blasphemy would allow them to subtly sense the Beyonder ingredients needed for subsequent sequences. In other words, the room where the evil spirit is sealed has a demigod-ranked characteristic of the Red Priest pathway hidden within. Perhaps the evil spirit was a demigod of this pathway when it was still alive, and it might even be a little stronger. The subtle sensation provided by the card of blasphemy is probably a result of the law of convergence. Klein suddenly thought of many things. He subconsciously turned his head to look at Sharon to see her reaction. By doing so, he could determine if she knew about the card of blasphemy and whether she understood the meaning of a sequence 0. However, there was no change in Sharon's nearly transparent face. It was as if the evil spirit had just shown an ordinary tarot card. However, this actually implies something. When any Beyonder first comes to learn of a sequence 0, they will subconsciously think about what it represented. Perhaps only a Beyonder in the spectator pathway can read the subtle body language of Miss Sharon. Klein sighed to himself. Seeing that both of them were silent at the same time, the evil spirit gave Klein a deep glance, slowly making the projection of the card of blasphemy disappear. It once again looked at Sharon with its bloodshot eyes and said with a low and hoarse laugh, "If you are unwilling to become a demigod of the mutant pathway, then I can provide you with the sequence 4 potion formula of the Abyss pathway. The temperance of desire and the flamboyance of malice has always been very congruous, isn't it?" Sharon ignored the evil spirit's question and turned unhurriedly to Klein, leaving him to respond. What the evil spirit means is that the mutant pathway and the Abyss pathway are closely related pathways which are exchangeable at high sequences. How the Rose School of Thought and the Blood Sanctify sect act on the surface does seem very similar. Klein thought for 2 seconds and looked at the bloodied rafter pound. Then, how can your seal be removed? The evil spirit laughed and said, "Very simple. Find a direct descendant of the Sauron, Einhorn, and Medici family and obtain 10 milliliters of their blood each. A little more is fine, but not less. Then mix them with holy water and pour them into my room. This way, the seal will be lifted." It's a very simple and strange method. Even in the field of mysticism, it's rare. Why must they be direct descendants of the Sauron, Einhorn, and Medici families? I have never heard of the last one. Sauron is the former royal family of Intis, and Einhorn is the royal family of the Faesek Empire. Both of them were loyal to the Trunsost Empire, the angel family of the 4th epoch, and they were the final winners. However, Loans Augustus and Phaenopotter's Castia families also meet the same conditions. Oh right, the Sauron and Einhorn family have one more thing in common, and that is their possession of the Hunter pathway. Is this the reason for them being chosen? A. Taking the situation from before into context, the Hunter pathway is equal to the Red Priest pathway. As he made a guess, Klein didn't conceal his doubts. I know about the Sauron and Einhorn families, but I've never heard of the Medici family. Very normal. They often enjoy hiding in the shadows. They are corrupted angels and have established an extremely secretive organization, the evil spirit said with a contemptuous tone. That organization is known as Rose Redemption. This name is very familiar. That's right, inside the abandoned temple of the true creator that was recently found by the City of Silver, there is something similar written on a corner of a mural. They suspect that it's the name of the city or the creator of the temple. Now, from the looks of it, this symbolizes an extremely secretive organization that was founded by corrupted angels. They believe in the true creator. What is their relationship with the Aurora Order? Klein pondered for a moment and said, "It's related to the true creator." The evil spirit was silent for 2 seconds before asking in a low voice, "You know about Rose Redemption?" "I heard it by chance, Klein spoke the absolute truth. The evil spirit thought for a moment, then it suddenly said with a smile, "You have more secrets than I thought. Can we not talk about such things?" Klein held himself back from watching Sharon's response as he wore an unperturbed look. The evil spirit's gaze swept across the two and laughed. Rose redemption has a close relationship with the birth of the true creator. It's impossible for you to imagine that certain people were once members of Rose Redemption, but they have since left it. As long as you find an organization that believes in the true creator and trace it to the very end, then there will be a chance of you coming into contact with Rose Redemption. It sounds a little like the Twilight Hermit Order, with one being the front side while the other the back side. Klein made an intuitive guess. Seeing that the evil spirit had no intention of giving an in-depth introduction to Rose Redemption, he laughed and said, "Do you think we can complete something like that with our strengths?" The evil spirit was silent for a few seconds before saying, "Maybe you guys can try your luck in Binsey Town." Binsey Town? Where's that? Despite Klein's repeated questioning, the evil spirit refused to reveal anything else. Faced with this situation, Klein could only switch to asking, during the fourth epoch, were the Black Emperor, Blood Emperor, and Night Emperor fighting for the position of Sequence 0? When the evil spirit heard this, it was stunned for a moment before it smiled and said, "It was once was the case, but not later. It wasn't the case after Alistair Tudor went mad." Alistair Tudor was that Blood Emperor. Klein sought confirmation. The evil spirit nodded. "Yes, there has only been one Blood Emperor, that lunatic Alistair Tudor, heh. The descendants of the Tudor family have all inherited the madness of that bloodline. They're usually crafty, devious, careful, and cautious, but at critical moments, they can become reckless and not consider the repercussions." The evil spirit pointed at Rafterpound's face and said, "He is an example. However, after this lesson, he will definitely become more normal for a long period of time. I've no idea if he's the last Tudor. Alistair left quite a number of good things which require the blood of his descendants in order to gain access to them. It's best that you don't kill him now." The evil spirit paused and chuckled softly. "All right, after you help me remove the seal, I will tell you all the stories I have experienced. No, a more accurate description is the history I've experienced." Having said that, Rafterpound's eyes suddenly lost focus. His body twitched a few times before limply collapsing to the ground. Sharon silently watched this scene before she suddenly took a step forward. Whoosh! The wind howled as the dirt and rocks on the ground began to move before falling into the underground tunnel and sealing off the entrance. After that was done, Klein and Sharon left William Street and took a detour to another block in the silent darkness. When Klein boarded the rental carriage, Sharon's figure appeared, and she sat across from him. She looked unblinkingly at Klein as she asked with her hoarse and ethereal voice, "Will you help it lift its seal?" "No," Klein didn't hesitate to reply, and then he asked, "What about you?" Sharon shook her head, indicating that she wouldn't either. Klein heaved a sigh of relief as he smiled. "It's already been dead for about 2,000 years, and right now, it's just a remnant of an evil spirit. Dispersing or returning to the spirit world is supposed to be its end. My plan is that once we become high-sequence Beyonders, we can team up and eliminate it, giving it true deliverance." Although the Red Priest card, the hidden history of the fourth epoch, and the evil spirit's promised rewards were tempting, Klein had no confidence in it at all. In his mind, he would always recall the scene of the evil spirit's corpse sitting on a high back chair with its head lowered. He would also remember how the other party's face would be covered in traces of decay when he raised his head. Sharon tersely acknowledged, giving the necessary response. "Aren't you supposed to ask me why I'm so confident in becoming a high-sequence Beyonder?" Klein couldn't help but lampoon. And the answer to that question was that people needed to have dreams. Klein no longer bothered with the topic and switched to asking, "Is the Wraith's corresponding sequence 4 really puppet?" Sharon nodded. "Do you have the potion formula or Beyonder ingredients?" Klein asked in thought. Sharon shook her head. Klein let out a soft chuckle. "I'll help you keep an eye out for it in my circle." Sharon said without changing her tone, "Thank you." Klein looked out of the window and muttered to himself, "I'm going to the south for a holiday." At this point, he said with a smile, as if he were speaking to a lawyer Jurgen, "Let me wish you and Merrick a happy new year in advance." Sharon was silent for 2 seconds, then she pursed her lips and replied in a fleeting voice, "Happy New Year." Her figure gradually faded and disappeared from the carriage. Looking at the little boy behind the altar and hearing his slightly hoarse and tender voice, Derek felt as if he was facing the most terrifying monster. He almost performed a downward cleave with the axe of Hurricane in his hand. From what he knew, a person who could survive in the pure darkness for so long was definitely not human. Even if he was one before, it definitely wouldn't be one after that long. Demon Hunter Collins' eyes seemed to brighten a little. He tightened his grip on his sword and asked in a calm voice, "What are you doing here?" The yellow-haired boy who called himself Jack had a pained expression as he replied, "We're looking for the holy residence of the Lord." "The holy residence of the Lord?" Colin pressed. "Right." The little boy Jack turned his head and looked at the pitch-black cross and the statue of the overturned man. "They told me that as long as I go in the direction that the Lord's eyes look in, then I will be able to reach his holy residence." You still have companions?" Colin's eyes moved one full revolution as if he were a monster, taking in the surroundings. "Where are they?" Hearing this question, the little boy Jack was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he held his throat, and with a twisted, blank look on his face, he said, "I'm so hungry." "So hungry,"